On the fateful day of April 29, 2022, Casey White, a defendant awaiting trial for a capital murder charge, executed a successful escape from the confines of the Lauderdale County Jail in Florence, Alabama. This daring escape marked a significant event, capturing the attention of the public and law enforcement alike. Hello, and welcome to Maya's reality channel, where we bring you compelling true crime stories. From unsolved mysteries to notorious criminals, we leave no stone unturned as we navigate the dark corridors of real-life crimes. So, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more. Now, let's get back to the story. However, the mastermind behind this said prison break was none other than corrections officer Vicky White. Interestingly, Vicky shared no familial ties with Casey, making her involvement in his escape all the more puzzling. Using a carefully devised plan, she manipulated her position and deceived her unsuspecting coworkers under the pretense of taking Casey for a scheduled mental health evaluation at the courthouse. Vicky White planned their getaway, exploiting the trust placed in her by her colleagues. The escape triggered a widespread manhunt that went through the media landscape. The story of Casey White's successful evasion of justice and Vicky White's role in facilitating it became a focal point in news coverage, drawing the attention of audiences across the nation. Casey Cole White. Born on August 20, 1983, Casey Cole White boasted a criminal history spanning over a decade. Standing at an imposing height of 6 feet 9 inches, he adorned his body with tattoos, some of which featured white supremacist symbols. In 2012, he received a 3-year prison sentence for assaulting his brother by striking his face and head with the handle of an axe sledgehammer. In December 2015, White embarked on a crime spree, targeting an ex-girlfriend in a series of violent incidents in both Alabama and Tennessee. This rampage unfolded as White, armed and dangerous, held victims at gunpoint, wounded a woman, took the life of a dog, committed a home invasion, and carried out multiple carjackings. The said crime spree started on the morning of December 1, 2015, when White forcibly entered a residence, making off with 2 stolen firearms. Later that night, armed with these stolen weapons, he arrived at his ex-girlfriend's residence, where he opened fire on her and 2 other men present. Fortunately, the woman and the 2 men managed to escape, although White tragically shot and killed a dog during the altercation. Miraculously, 2 children inside the house emerged unharmed. The chaotic sequence of events ended with his dramatic capture after an intense police chase. During this tense standoff, marked by his demand to speak with the sheriff and threats of self-harm, White requested a pack of Marlboro cigarettes and a Sun-Drop soda before eventually surrendering. White is presently awaiting trial for the 2015 stabbing murder of Connie Ridgway, a 58-year-old mother of 2. The tragic incident occurred on October 23, 2015, when Mrs. Ridgway was discovered brutally stabbed to death in her apartment in Rogersville, Alabama. Despite the passage of 5 years, the case remained unsolved until White sent a letter to the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office, confessing to the crime. In a subsequent interview with authorities, he allegedly provided specific details about the crime that had not been disclosed publicly, details only the perpetrator could have known. Casey White was eventually remanded in Lauderdale County Jail in Florence, Alabama to serve 75 years. Vicky Sue Davis White. Vicky Sue Davis White, born on August 19, 1965, served as an assistant director of corrections at the facility where Casey White was held. With 17 years of service, she was poised to retire on April 29, 2022. Standing at a height of 5 feet 5 inches with a registered weight of 145 pounds, she began her career with the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office in 1997, ultimately ascending to the position of Assistant Director of Corrections. In 2002, she married Thomas Edward "Tommy" White, though their marriage faced challenges due to his escalating drug issues, leading to their divorce in 2006. Notably, she is not in any way related to Casey Cole White, the individual accused of fatally stabbing Connie Jane Ridgway in 2015. Throughout the years 2015 to 2022, she received peer recognition as Supervisor or Employee of the Year 4 times. Her involvement with Casey began in 2020, evolving into a jailhouse romance where she maintained communication and provided him with extra food while he was incarcerated. Following her divorce from Tommy, she remained amicable with him and his mother, Frances Dolores White, who sadly passed away in January 2022 due to complications related to Parkinson's disease. Despite a conversation about retiring to Florida, Vicky sold her house in Lexington on April 18, 2022, for $95,550, notably less than its total parcel value of $235,600. On the same day, she withdrew $90,000 in cash from several banks, and after the sale, she resided with her mother. Days later, she engaged in personal shopping, buying men's clothing at Kohl's and stockings at Sugar and Spice, a local sex shop. On April 28, 2022, she unexpectedly submitted her retirement papers as the Assistant Director of Corrections at the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office. The hastiness of this decision left many wondering about the motivations and future plans that prompted such a sudden exit from a long-standing career. The combination of financial transactions, personal indulgences, and a surprising career pivot paints a complex picture of a momentous period in Vicky's life. Prison escape. At 9:30 a.m. on April 29, 2022, Vicky White, the Assistant Director at Lauderdale County Jail in Florence, Alabama, escorted Casey White to a police vehicle before leaving the detention center. During this departure, a surveillance video captured Casey in handcuffs and leg shackles. Casey, with an extensive criminal history, was already serving a 75-year sentence for a 2015 crime spree and was at the facility for pretrial motions after confessing 2 years earlier to the 2015 stabbing death of 59-year-old Connie Ridgway. Vicky's purported plan to take Casey to the county courthouse in Florence for a psychological evaluation and attend her personal physician's appointment on a day she claimed to be feeling unwell immediately raised eyebrows among her fellow officers. The abnormality of the task was not lost on them, especially considering that inmates taken to the courthouse typically require the presence of 2 deputies for security purposes. However, suspicions were further heightened as Vicky seemed to have no resistance, potentially exploiting her influential position within the system. The situation took a puzzling turn when both Vicky and Casey failed to return to the detention center as expected. To piece together the puzzle, the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department obtained a crucial surveillance video from a local gas station, capturing Vicky White's patrol car just 8 minutes after departing from the detention center. This unexpected detour cast a shadow over the entire scenario, leaving law enforcement with more questions than answers. Upon careful examination of the courthouse's schedule, authorities discovered a startling revelation. There were no hearings or evaluations slated for that particular day. This revelation heightened the concern that Vicky might have been coerced or manipulated into aiding Casey's escape, prompting authorities to launch a statewide manhunt. The pursuit of the fugitive couple escalated from a statewide manhunt to a nationwide effort. The Ford Edge, initially used as their second getaway vehicle, was later discovered abandoned in Tennessee, prompting the authorities to widen their search. The couple, undeterred, transitioned to a blue 2006 Ford F-150 pickup truck, going on a northward journey with intermittent stops at various motels along their route. Surveillance footage during this phase captured Vicky White, with her once blonde hair now dyed black, a calculated attempt to alter their appearance and evade detection. Their journey eventually led them to Evansville, Indiana, where they opted to rent a motel room. In a cunning move, the couple paid a homeless man $100 to secure the reservation, leaving him unaware of their fugitive status. Unknown to the man, they prepaid for a 14-day stay at the motel, further solidifying their temporary refuge. As the nationwide manhunt intensified, authorities took significant measures to encourage public cooperation, offering rewards for any information leading to the capture of Casey White and Vicky White. Emphasizing the dangerous nature of the couple, law enforcement underscored that they were to be considered armed and perilous. Given Casey White's history of extreme violence, even fellow law enforcement personnel were explicitly cautioned to exercise utmost care and caution when approaching him. Investigation. Following Casey White's escape, Alabama authorities launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident. Vicky White, the assistant director at the Lauderdale County Jail, was slated to retire on the very day she departed with Casey. However, she never finalized the paperwork for her retirement. Before her assistance in Casey's escape, they discovered that she made significant financial moves, selling her 4-acre property for $95,550, a substantial reduction from its assessed value of $235,600. Furthermore, she engaged in various purchases, acquiring firearms, men's clothing, and vehicles. As investigators went deeper into the situation, it became apparent that Vicky had been extending preferential treatment to Casey, encompassing additional food and privileges. The guards on duty noticed Casey's consistent attempts to elicit sympathy from the staff. What initially appeared to be special treatment eventually developed into a romantic relationship, with indications suggesting it may have commenced in 2020. Following the discovery of this romantic involvement, authorities took decisive action, terminating Vicky's employment and issuing arrest warrants on May 2 and May 6, 2022, respectively, charging her for her role in facilitating Casey's escape. Capture. On May 9, 2022, authorities in Evansville, Indiana, received important evidence in the form of a surveillance video. This footage, provided by a vigilant car wash employee, captured the fugitive couple engaged in washing their pickup truck. Another video revealed their transition to a gray Cadillac DTS. Prompted by this information, an Evansville police officer successfully identified the location of the vehicle at Motel 41, triggering an urgent call for additional law enforcement units. Subsequently, the couple exited the motel, with Casey White assuming control of the Cadillac. A pursuit ensued on US 41, unfolding dramatically as Casey drove onto a grassy field. The climax of the pursuit saw a police vehicle colliding with the Cadillac, resulting in the latter flipping into a ditch. As law enforcement converged on the scene, Casey White, seemingly aware of the gravity of the situation, surrendered without incident. However, amidst the unfolding events, Vicky White sustained a gunshot wound to the head. In a plea to authorities, Casey asserted, "Please help my wife. She shot herself in the head, and I didn't do it." Intriguingly, investigations later revealed no official indication of their marital status. Vicky was swiftly transported to a local hospital, but tragically, she was pronounced dead hours after the incident. The cause of her death was officially ruled as suicide, marking a somber conclusion to the intense manhunt. Vicky White was later buried in Center Hill Cemetery in Lexington, Alabama on May 14. In recognition of the assistance provided in the capture, the state of Alabama later awarded a $5,000 reward to an anonymous individual. Mike Blakely, the former Limestone County Sheriff, shares a deep-rooted connection with Casey White, extending back to their shared upbringing on the same side of the county and their mutual high school alma mater. Blakely emphasizes that he has known Casey since birth, fostering a familiarity that spans their entire lives. However, Blakely's term as sheriff ended with a 3-year jail sentence, a consequence of misappropriating inmates' funds. While out on bond awaiting an appeal, Blakely reflects on Casey's past, pinpointing the origins of trouble to his high school years, notably marked by incidents involving drunk driving offenses. Despite these early entanglements with the law, Casey preferred the solitude of rural areas within the county, maintaining a reserved and private lifestyle. According to Blakely, their interactions remained largely unproblematic during Casey's incarceration, where he even assumed the role of a jail trustee for a period. contingent upon consistent adherence to prescribed medication. Casey's mental health condition necessitated the use of medication, and Blakely emphasizes that compliance was crucial in managing his behavior within the structured environment of the jail. However, Blakely observes that upon release, Casey turned to self-medication, resorting to substances like meth and other drugs. In coping with his mental health struggles, Casey occasionally sought assistance by voluntarily checking himself into the emergency room. This pattern sheds light on the challenges he faced in transitioning to life outside the regulated confines of incarceration. Blakely said that Casey, dealing with mental health issues, struggled to function independently on the streets, offering insight into the complexities of his personal journey and the ongoing battle with mental health. Post-capture. Frances White, Vicky White's former mother-in-law, expressed deep bewilderment at the shocking turn of events that led the once really nice person she had known for nearly a lifetime to participate in a well-planned prison escape and nationwide manhunt, culminating in her tragic death. Speaking to The Independent, Frances, now 88, shared her sense of dismay, stating that it makes her feel sick knowing that the 56-year-old corrections officer, formerly married to her son, became entangled in such a dangerous situation with a convict accused of a heinous crime. Having known Vicky since her early years when she went by the name Vicky Sue Davis in the tight-knit community of Lauderdale County, Alabama, Frances emphasized the positive qualities she observed in her. The two women grew especially close when Vicky married her son Tommy. Frances, highlighting Vicky's positive demeanor and willingness to assist others, said, "She was a really nice person. She didn't talk about nobody. She was really helpful to everyone." Despite the challenges Vicky faced in her marriage to Tommy, including issues related to alcohol and drug addiction, Frances acknowledged that she couldn't fault her for ending the relationship, recognizing the difficulties she faced in the marriage. Even after the couple divorced, Frances maintained a close relationship with her former daughter-in-law. She expressed disbelief at the actions of the woman she had known for so long, unable to comprehend why Vicky would undertake such drastic measures, including taking her own life. "If my son was still alive, he also would not have believed his ex-wife was capable of doing something like this," Frances said. Despite the challenges, Tommy and Vicky stayed friends post-divorce, regularly conversing until his health declined due to Parkinson's. In the face of these unexpected events, Frances White dealt with the shocking revelation that the person she had known as a really nice and helpful individual could find herself entangled in such a distressing situation. Following the determination by the Vanderburgh County coroner that Vicky White's death was a result of suicide, her body was transported back to Alabama. Nearly 200 mourners assembled under the scorching Alabama sun, encouraged to set aside the recent pain and trauma and instead focus on the version of Vicky they had known, a person described as real loved, and one who significantly impacted the lives of those around her. Doves were released in a symbolic gesture as Vicky's coffin was gently lowered into her family plot at Center Hill Cemetery in her hometown of Lexington, Alabama. The gathering included several members of the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department, friends, relatives, and former inmates of Lauderdale County Jail, all touched by the positive influence Vicky had on their lives. In the poignant farewell, attendees remembered Vicky for her impactful presence and the deep connection she forged. The funeral, marked by shared grief and remembrance, provided a space for those touched by Vicky's life to come together and bid her a final farewell. Casey, having waived his right to an extradition hearing, was returned to Alabama the following day. Instead of being sent back to the facility from which he had escaped, he was transferred to the state prison in Bessemer, Alabama. His request for a preliminary hearing on the escape charge was dismissed on June 13, and the judge forwarded the case to a grand jury. On July 11, Casey White was indicted with felony murder in connection to the death of Vicky White. A trial for the 2015 murder was initially set for December 12, 2022, but it was later rescheduled to June 17, 2023. Prosecutors assert that White was contracted to carry out the murder, leading to his 2020 indictment on 2 counts of capital murder. The trial for the murder of Vicky White was scheduled 2 months earlier, on April 17, 2023. Initially pleading guilty after confessing to the crime, he later changed his plea to not guilty by reason of mental illness. In May 2023, Casey White entered a plea deal, admitting guilt to first-degree prison escape. In return, he avoided being tried for felony murder in the death of Vicky White. In the weeks following their apprehension, the specific motel room where Vicky and Casey White stayed gained significant interest, resulting in a waiting list for the room with up to 60 bookings. All right, guys, that wraps up our video for today. If you found this informative, please do well to give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and watch out for more.